Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. How's it going with your staffing this year?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what's really important, camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camphacker. Crazy Creek Products is proud to support the CampHacker podcast. They've been perfecting the just sit there mentality for campers since 1987. Come see them at the Tri-State and New England ACA shows in March, or call 800-446-3446, or find them online at crazycreek.com.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis Allison from Go Camp Pro. I help camps translate what they do so that more families insist on sending their children to summer camp.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm camp director of Camp Highlight, which has consistently been voted the best camp on earth. It's a sleepaway camp for kids who have LGBTQ plus parents.
And I pressed that yes, like button for Chris's camp. And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Woro. Camp Woro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, and we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director and chief guitar player here at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility, which is part of the United Church of Canada's summer camp network of 55 camps across this country. And I'm located in Fingal, Ontario, about halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Well done. Good intros, everybody. Welcome to the show. Before we get into this topic, I just want to ask you, we would be super grateful if you went to ratethispodcast.com/camp and then click the rating and reviews button. That allows some ratings to go out to folks so that hopefully more people get to listen to the stuff that's going on. This has been our best year for downloads, and we've put a lot of extra effort into making this go, and we would appreciate your honest review when you click the ratings and reviews button. So we want to talk today about missing staff, getting ready for training, but really about getting the people on board and have an honest conversation about how camps are adapting to life in spring of 2022 when we're recording this, as we are running downhill towards summer camp and still hearing a lot of stress over staffing. And I'd like to start with you, Gab, if you don't mind. Where are you folks at for staffing and your feeling about it?
So if this was if I was staffing for 2019 or 2018, I'd be really stressed out right now. I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're still missing some key individuals. But I think after running camp in 2020, we couldn't run camp, but we did have a small a group of staff that came for the summer. And then in 2021, we had a hybrid program. And I think after doing that program, I feel so much more confident with the staff that were there last year that are coming back this year in adaptability. And also we worked really, really hard to build strong ties with past leadership team members that are volunteering their time. And when I say volunteering, they're paid, but they're taking time out of their personal lives and work lives to either mentor leadership team members on Zoom before they come to camp, or throughout the summer, or even come up for a week or two. We even have some past leadership team members that are taking care of those nasty little lists of what staff member goes where, what campers go at what table, et cetera. So it can just alleviate some of the pressure. So there's a nice team feeling. We still have some staff to find, but with some of our support leadership team members, I'm feeling confident.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. How about for you, Joe?
my staffing this summer is all based on last summer. So knowing that we were challenged, knowing this challenge would come, right?
Yep.
Trying to see part of the future. We hired only young staff last summer through a grant program. So we didn't pay anything out of our own pockets, just out of the pockets of other Canadians. And we hired 16 and 17-year-olds last summer. And out of the 9 who came, we have seven that we wanted back, and those 7 have all applied back. And on top of that, we have previous campers who are now staff age who have applied back. And so we're sitting, our staffing is looking really good. I was without a summer camp director until last week, which
nice.
could cause a bit of stress to somebody, but you also have to, I think my whole staffing journey, even with the pandemic, is based off of my early experience working full-time in camping. And when you work for somewhere like the Taylor Staton camps and you have to hire 240 staff, you can start a summer down 35 people, right? Like that's just part of the what it is. And so when I arrived at here at Pierce Williams in 2005, and you're only hiring 35 to 40 people, it's a very casual experience in my, like, it doesn't cause me any stress because I was so used to hiring so many more people. And now we are still down people who could counsel in our male cabins. And there's a whole discussion about so we're working with some of our staff who are transitioning and seeing if they're right. Which cabin would you like to be in? Right. That's a choice for them and for us and whatnot. But staffing, now that I have a summer camp director who's an experienced alumni, someone who grew up at camp, nice. Left us, worked at other camps, worked as an RA, and has, graduated university, worked as a flight attendant and determined that that is not what they want to do. And then this experience is open to them. And I think that, so from my perspective, my staff is, will be fine. And we've also limited camper enrollment because I'm aiming for a number of staff, right? So meaning
you limited
that
enrollment based on the staff you've been able to hire? No,
I limited enrollment based on knowing exactly how many staff I needed. So okay. I'm only at this moment in time allowing 60 campers a week to sign up for camp, which is 10 counselors, because we reduced our cabin sizes from 8 to 6. Right. So we've thought all of this through, and we're positive we can have, because I have 20 people already hired out of like 30 is our goal. And so that doesn't include my cooks and whatnot. So probably 25, because I have Pierce Williams is a strange and wonderful place after 17 years. I have a 7-year camp director, a good friend of, her name is Ika, and she was with me. She grew up at camp and then left. She was my full-time camp director for 7 years. Yeah. And she's coming back to be our camp cook.
Right on.
Like, how do you, and I think it's just, I think it's just a community. Yeah. So she's learning this year from Mama Bear, who's been our cook for the past 7 years. So she's learning this year from Mama Bear, and then Ika has committed to 3 more years of being our camp cook. So I said, listen, we're gonna call on your expertise, and she said I would expect nothing less, right? Like that's, this is where I think that our whole community knows that this summer is going to be difficult, and we need the A team back to pull together and give our 16 and 17-year-old staff this experience that I will now have these 16, 17-year and 18-year-olds for the next 4 years, so I can rebuild my staff much quicker than if I started from zero. Yeah. Yep.
Great. How's Camp Highlight, Chris?
Camp Highlight it's okay. As of today, we have all the counselors that we need, plus or minus. Some caveats. We plan to lose a counselor. We're hiring, we need like 19 counselors, right, for our kids. So we try to overhire. When we can. It's very rare that we can do this, but we are fully aware that one staff member will contact us in May and say, oh my gosh, my sister's having a wedding or someone's graduating, and it happens to be Thursday morning of the week of camp, I can't come. So we're still looking for like one or two other people, counselors, but I feel really confident. The only other thing is that there are certain admin positions that have not been filled. Mm-hmm. And we don't focus on those so much because we have a solution to that, which just means everyone on admin works harder. We don't want to, but it's possible. If we don't have enough counselors, and we can talk about this, if we don't have enough counselors, I don't feel comfortable imposing on the counselors to do more work or supervise more children. Yeah. So I'm kind of pleased with that. I mean, got to find a solution to the admin thing, but at least if I put in the sweat equity, camp will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Mm-hmm. I think it is fair to say that there is some stress in the industry about hiring, about availability of staff, about bringing people back. I know that there's a lot of people being super intentional about that, and raising salaries and being more flexible about work time, all of which I think are excellent advice. I definitely think that, raising pay and being more competitive and being more open to a sort of a flex schedule is just a reality. I think we spent a lot of time on CampHacker this year talking about staff, looking after staff and salary stuff and all sorts of things. I did read a really interesting article just last week that has said that even for companies that have outside of camp, even for companies that have been hiring young adults and increasing the pay, to a better rate because of the economy and et cetera, even those people are having a hard time hiring folks on. No, that's not true. Having trouble retaining them. And it's still, and this gave me a little hope for camps, it's still the factor is when you have a group of companies that offer similar packages, when you have an organization that has a clear mission and gets their staff to buy into that mission, there is loyalty there. And so that gives me hope for camp. I know that we have, and I hear people ask this of our staff all the time, just do it because it's camp and it's good for kids. That can't be the only thing, but it can be a thing that helps us sustain staff, that keeps staff with us. If we can be honest and thoughtful, we can compete with other jobs because of the connection to the mission and do that. So that's hopeful. I still think we have a lot to do in terms of all of that.
Just to go on to that point about staff salaries, I don't know how to promote what you're paying, right, to people. That's one thing. That's one question. The other thing is it, how strange is it that I have 20 people who want to work at camp and are committed, and none of them have asked what they're getting paid? None of them.
Interesting.
Not a single one. And we've increased our pay dramatically. They don't know it yet. And my wonder is when I start sending out those staff contracts this week, that I sort of want to let that news spread by itself without me putting out a social media post up saying, hey, you can make, in 2019 you would have made $250 a week, and this year you're going to make $400 a week as a new counselor, right? Like that. These are the things I don't know how to promote, but I also am like, if I have 20, do I need to promote it, or will it promote itself shortly?
Right. Sure. Through the alumni and their friends and stuff.
I don't know if I want to rehash the pay conversation. I think we've had it here before. Yep. Is that what is attracting people to these jobs? Joe, to your point, like advertising that, I mean, the number would still seem so low versus what you could do for a week. Like, that's not the draw. But I'm not sure. Here.
I'm not sure. And part of this is how you market it, right? Because I don't think people, including parents, think about the cost of having their kid work from home, right? Or having their kid eat their own food or drive their vehicle to and from work with the price of gas, right? So are all of these, so all of a sudden, because if you're a fourth year staff with us, you're making more than minimum wage at 40 hours a week. And a lot of summer jobs are not 40 hours a week. Even in Canada, if you're on Canada summer jobs, you're only being paid for 35 hours a week through the grant system. And so, a lot of larger corporations like a Walmart or a Loblaws, which is a grocery chain here in Canada, won't hire you as staff beyond 25 hours a week because it kicks other things into their labor agreements, right? So I think that it's partially that we haven't fully, I think people are delusional about what they think they can make, right?
Delusional.
What the net of that will be.
Yeah. How many are you going out with friends? Are you eating out? Are you doing all these things? Like, that's all money you're spending. More power to you if you don't want to commit your summer to camp. Unimportant to me, but no.
Yeah. I think for me, it's less about the advertisement of it, and it's more about the knowledge of for staff members, once they are working for you, that you're doing everything that you can to not take financial advantage of them. And I think that that's what helps with staff members saying, they care. And I agree, Travis. I think if you're not investing in your company's culture, I'll just call it a company and it's a culture.
Yep.
You're going to be doing, I had a couple of friends in the past over the pandemic that lost their jobs and started working for call centers or, these type of places where they could work from home. And they're making financially quite an interesting paycheck. I was like, should I do this part-time? Maybe. I could never do it. Not because it's not good. It's just, you have to pay attention to people talking and stuff. So anyways, but the thing is that the culture, these organizations weren't investing in the culture. And what I was hearing was what these companies were most frustrated about was that they were losing staff. So staff came in because of the salaries, stayed for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then left. And that's costing those companies so much money because you have to train individuals. So one of these companies, it's a 3-month training program. That costs a significant amount. For me, what I'm interested in is our staff members understanding that we're doing everything we can financially to support them, and that they know that once they're at camp, so that we do have, that's part of investing into our company culture. But then also caring for our staff. And I think that what's scary for camps this summer is that balance book of, we only have this amount of staff members, but we need this amount of campers so that we can make the money. And I think that that's a very slippery slope to be on, because you might be able to do that for this year, but you might lose a whole bunch of staff members because you're overtaxing them. And they might not be experienced enough, or your ratio is different than what it usually is. So you're not experienced in running your program. And I think we have to think long-term, and what are some of the decisions that we can make this year so that it's going to not only impact us in a positive way this current summer, but for summers to come.
Crazy Creek chairs and products have been perfecting the Just Sit There brand for campers and staff alike since 1987. With new colors in stock for 2022, reach out to Crazy Creek today for summer 2022 season specials. Mention this ad when you email or call in and receive 10% off your entire order and free single color logo on your Crazy Creeks. No tool is more vital at camp than a Crazy Creek chair. Call 1-800-446-3446 or email chill@crazycreek.com to guarantee your chairs for the 2022 season. Did you know Crazy Creeks are given to campers at check-in at over 500 camps in the U.S.? Great camps like Philmont and Kanakuk include the chair in the camper's registration price and package. Add a free logo on the back and your camp name will stay with the campers for life. No one throws away a Crazy Creek. One of the things that I hear that I find frustrating, a lot of camps, not all I realize, but a lot of camps have found it easier to get campers this year. The parents are looking for a camp experience for their kids. And parents that can afford it are looking for a camp experience. And they have taken all of the kids and then said, we'll figure out how to hire for that. And now we're heading into April and they're struggling to find people, as other jobs are getting actively recruiting towards college and university students now that it's the end of the school year, and they're finding it a real struggle. So that's a frustration that people have brought in kids that they can't look after, or that they'll have to basically bury their staff to look after. And they will not have a good product. And then when camp is not as easy to fill next year, they're going to struggle again. It's just so short-sighted. because they won't have a good, the kids won't have a good experience because the staff are so burnt.
I was just going to say that, Travis. You said everything. I think it is so short-sighted. It's so shooting yourself in the foot, cutting off your nose to spite your face, other similar metaphors that like 2 years from now, you're not going to get anybody, and we've done this in the past.
Neither staff nor campers 2 years.
That's the thing, right?
Also, yeah.
Like, the campers less so, because sometimes the campers are less aware of the chaos because they have more of a tolerance for chaos kids. But like, there have been times when we were like, oh, let's just squeeze in one more camper into the cabin and we'll put the staff member on a cot and that will be okay. And it's just like, you're sleeping on a cot. You're like it's not comfortable. On top of that, you're not making any more money. There's more kids to look after. And then when it rolls around next year and your friend's like, oh, we're going to Cancun for 3 weeks. And you're like, you know what? Screw this camp thing, because it just seems I'm not being valued and respected, because that's what it comes down to. It's like a job like any other. I mean, and I know camps are cramming kids in, especially I know a couple of camps who are trying to recover from 2020 and trying to balance the books. Like, oh, we'll just get the kids in, like Joe said, and or Travis, and we'll figure it out later. I can't think of a worse idea. Like that's not a key. That's not the key to longevity. You're going to burn out your staff, and not for nothing. We're all having trouble finding staff. There's a coopetition element to this, is that we all have to be treating our staff better. So in the coming years, more young people will want to do this. We can't afford to have camps burning staff out who then go tell their friends, oh, well, camp isn't a great thing for you to do, et cetera, et cetera. Like we all have to, as an industry, come together and treat staff better.
It's such a good it's such a good way of looking at it too, in the sense of saying, we're part of an industry, and there is a ripple effect from this. And I was just thinking, Chris, imagine if you said this to your staff, what you just said, saying, hey, this year we're a smaller camp. Why? Because we only hire staff members that are right for our organization.
Yes.
And this summer, you are what is right for our organization. And this is our 5-year plan. We took a financial hit. Absolutely. This is how we're adjusting to this financial hit. You're going to see some things that are shifted, but our goal is to get to here in 5 years, and you're the staff to do it, and et cetera, et cetera. All of a sudden, I'm inspired. This is putting staff first, as well as our campers. Because if we have too many campers, not enough experienced staff members, they're suffering too. And you feel like you're part of something special, because you're doing it together. And I would just take what you said, Chris, and say that to your staff. And I also know that there's camp directors out there that want to do this, that maybe want to pare down a little bit, but they have a board, and the board is pushing numbers. Have the board listen to this podcast, because it is short-sighted, and it's going to make your lives so much more difficult. And if a board member is listening, you're going to lose your camp director too.
It's not good business. No. It's just not good business to burn out your staff for the sake of your customers. It doesn't make sense.
This is a challenge for some of the people. I would think a lot of the people who listen to this podcast might be new to camping. They might be a first or second or third year camp director. And the challenge is they don't have time to think about longevity. I know that Gab thinks about longevity. I know that Chris is the founder. Right. I know I've been here for 17 years. So I can see the long game, right? And I can make choices that then play out. Whereas if you're hired to fix a camp, or if you're hired as a camp director and you're on a contract, which is the worst possible method of a year-long contract, you're thinking about that summer and making that summer work. If you're a private camp owner and you're in debt right now, if you're a private camp owner who's long-term, you should be thinking about that longevity, but you shouldn't be thinking about it today in March of 2022. You should have thought about it in 2020 when this stuff went down, right? How do we rebuild from this devastating thing that's a once in a lifetime? But the talk of longevity thinking is something that's difficult for a young camp director or a new camp director, because they don't know what the long game is, right? They don't see the results. In a board of directors, I've often said, the only reason I've been here for 17 years is because I have a board that I like, right? And if the board is pushing things that are unrealistic, well, then you need to let them know that that's unrealistic and could hurt you long term, and hurt the camp long term. Because if you have kids, like last summer, we all saw, the four of us all saw the news of a camp that had to close and send people home because their staffing was an issue. And if that happens again, that's the start of a pattern. And we don't want it to be the start of a pattern, because people will assume that all camps are like that. And so I think there's great challenges. I also love the fact, just to throw this in, I love that your culture, and Chris said it, if I've moved to 6 kids in a cabin versus 8, which decreases my numbers, but I have a 7th kid that needs to be in that cabin and I put a cot in, our staff would never think I'm not getting paid more. Our staff would think, super awesome, I have a 7th kid. This is great. Because that's a culture that we ingrain in them. And I think that culture will get camps through. Strong cultures will certainly help camps to recover from this much faster than camps who treat their staff like Amazon employees.
Well said. That's absolutely it. I know at our camp, our culture is very strong. The counselors are chatting on Slack every day. In another window, I'm watching them chat right now. They have a great time. They're discussing the latest Marvel movies. They're, exchanging like all their accolades they're getting throughout the years. Oh, I got my driver's license. Oh, and it's a big party. And they want to come back together. The thing is though, and I pride myself in being someone good at building culture. I don't know if I have any tips on how to do that. If you don't already have it, you got to just start from the beginning, but it really you'll be able to attract people and not have to worry about making sure that the dollar amount is right. Like, people will just want to come. The other thing I wanted to throw in there that I've been thinking about, and we're going to start this summer, is that one, really work with your counselors about how to use this experience to get other jobs.
Sure.
Right. So if that is taking time to look at every position at camp and writing out this is what you'd write on your resume for this. This is what you'd write. These are the skills. I think that sort of forward thinking, stepping stone mentality would be really helpful to young people who are like, well, this isn't paying me a lot. What can I get out of this? We've had people with us now for 6 or 7 years, and they can put all sorts of things on their resume, like education, childcare, curriculum development, crisis management. There's so many aspects of the job that they can advertise to other people who might want to hire them. And I think that is something very attractive that we can offer for free. It doesn't cost us any more money.
Yeah. So I like the direction this is heading. I want to wrap up then with how we build now for future staffing, how we build starting this spring. This is 2022 and I'm recording, but I'm thinking any calendar year in the spring and summer, how we build now towards better staffing in the future. Cap?
I'm gonna just go with, for me, I'm just gonna do like an evaluation tool real quick. I think that, and this is for every summer, but particularly for this summer, if you're struggling with staffing and getting staff, I would look at programs, ratio, experience. In my programs, what programs do I have during the summer that put a lot of strain on my staff members? And can we adjust these programs? Ratio, are these ratios, do they make sense in the sense of the experience of type of staff that we have, but also just the type of care that we're giving our campers? So if you're thinking of adjusting your ratio to accommodate more campers this summer, like really evaluate that. And then finally, experience. You might have the bodies, you might have the staff members, but you don't have the experience that's necessary. So what kind of experience can you bring in throughout the summer that's going to help as a guide light? Before you make any big decisions, just start with your programs, look at your ratios, and then look at the experience, and then see who can come in to help support. It's really fascinating. I find the more that particularly camp directors get under stress and chaos, the more they want to shut themselves in and sort of say, like, I've got it. I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to talk to my staff. I'm going to be there for my leadership team. I'm going to take yourself out and say, who could be that person that can talk to your leadership team member? honestly, have one or two of your buddies. So many of us have friends that are teachers or are married to teachers. That's sort of the camp way. Maybe some of those teachers or principals can be people that can check in with those leadership team members that are dealing with camper issues or staff member issues. And it's just something to go to so that you're freeing up your own time. But first, I would just evaluate before you set anything up. And then my go-to always with culture and staff culture is I always start this with a small group of people. And I ask the one question, what does our staff need to trust each other? What do we need to do?
So smart.
That's it. And then we go from there. And of course, you don't just say trust. What does trust look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Because it's different for everybody. But I always start with a small group of people and say, what do we need this year? And every year is different from another year. And smart. I don't know what they need. I need people to tell me. So I always start with small group and then we expand that group afterwards.
And this follows on from something that both Chris and Gab said in their start to this, and I'm looking forward to Joe's answer as well. I think our camp culture changed when we began to ask better questions, like you're talking about, Gab, and so we began to be honest and evaluate things. I also think our staff culture changed when Beth and I were no longer overall responsible for staff care and camper care. So when we had people who could see that and take those two things off of our plates, at some point when we were getting started and didn't have a lot of money, one of us would take responsibility for one of those things in the summer. But when they're off our plates, then that frees us to think big picture. That frees us to look at, talk to that person who's in charge of staff care and see what are the stresses, what are the things that are coming out of there. How do we start planning for this year? And how do we think long term about culture? So I definitely think culture is the way, exactly as Joe said. I think that intentionality and evaluation and honesty is all a part of it. I think when we're talking about staff, creating a culture that campers, like an excellent culture that campers grow up in, means that you have staff that are already, when they become first year staff that have grown up at your camp, they already have the vision. And you're not starting from scratch every year because you have such a deep culture. And, you have things like our 4S's that was our big, it was such a pivotal moment for us in terms of camp culture. And so, yeah, I think thinking long term, which you do really well, Joe.
Thanks. I think because that's my freedom. Many years ago, stopped trying to micromanage anything. And in fact, I find myself, we have management meetings here with my maintenance guy, my director of camps programs and personnel or marketing, and then brother Bill. We have management meetings each week right now, and I'll talk to them. There's a project going on where Flash and Bill are building a house for Bill, and I'll give them a bit of advice, and then I'll realize I'm too deep in the weeds, and I'm like, I'm not doing the work. I'll leave it to you to make that decision. Unimportant for me. And I think when we talk about staff culture, I think if you're going to micromanage staff culture, now is the time, right? Whatever you had, you need to make sure comes back, because if you've lost staff, but also if I was starting from scratch today on how to build, what I would do is I would get my most fervent supporters who are currently staff and talk to them about how to help our new staff along. What are the 5 things that you most love about camp that we can't lose? What are the, what are the things that you will always say, you will always do? And for us, the big thing that when my Red and I were first directing here was to come up with a one-line job description to do what needs to be done. And people really, and it's not just a saying, it's actual buy-in, right? Because you take that line from the bottom of the job description. This is something you can start today. Just take the additional duties as required and remove it from your job description. And at the top of your job description, put to do what needs to be done to give the campers the most amazing camp experience. Then put the rest of your job description. And it didn't change anything, but the perception that that's the most important thing is to do what needs to be done. So.
Excellent. Chris, what are you thinking with your thinking face on there?
My thinking face, yeah. My thinking face is firmly on. I'm just, your question resonates with me. What can we do to make sure to look towards the future? I think my first thing was camp directors need to slow down if possible. Like, what I'm hearing in this conversation is that there can be a bit of franticness around staffing. And because we've all been there, the deadline's approaching, the parents are at the gate. And it can be hard to be like, okay, going into this year, we're going to slow all the way down. We're going to close a cabin. It's hard, especially off of the last couple of years that we just had. But I think it's really important to drill down, get super curious, and even a bit analytical about why our staff returns and why they don't return.
Yes. Yep.
And I think it's, we're talking about culture, we're talking about pay, we're talking about resumes. That's all great. But when I'm left thinking, and like I said, like I'm watching my staff chat in this Slack window off to the side, what I'm thinking is that it would be really helpful for me to understand the profile of people who stay so I can better identify that at hiring. And maybe that's a really big concept, but there's something to that I'm going to really think about today. I think about the people who have left, and it was easy for them to leave. This is not a judgment. It was easy for them to leave. They had a job, they had a wedding, they had a trip planned. That's all great. But like these staff members that I have now, they move their lives around Camp Highlight to make sure that they attend. You know what I mean? They tell family members they can't show up for their thing because we're going to be at Camp Highlight. I need to better understand how those people found us. What was it about their interview questions or answers that really there's got to be a similar thread to that, and then speak to that in our marketing. So these are big ideas, but I'm going to really think about that because there's definitely, it's not a quick fix. Sorry, no quick fixes this week, but we are talking about longevity. And if you're not in a position where you could talk about longevity, if you really are scraping from year to year, I don't know what I can say to that except for like, stop. You're not going to be able to go much further. You're going to run out of resources, whether they're your own internal resources of having this panic all the time, or just drying up your staff and your customer base because you're delivering an inadequate product.
One final thought I'd love to leave everybody with, thinking long term and putting some vision behind this, is to evaluate, to give your staff the tools to be honest about how things are going with their boss. We know from lots of research that's been widely touted in the last few years that even if people are satisfied with the mission and the money, that the boss is the problem. While, most people leave because of their bosses, not because of the mission of the company or the money. And so we need to give them the tools and the time to evaluate their own bosses, their own things, so we can make better decisions about how our systems work to make staff feel supported when they support us by giving up a summer, giving up money to be a part of this. So I would encourage every camp to be thoughtful about that. We have a almost never advertised product that we put together with an HR professional to help staff evaluate up and down the chain within a summer. Our programs, their own people, etc. But I would encourage you, those are pretty widely available if you just look for them. You can put something together like that is a 5-minute on your phone survey. Give staff time every week to put that in there so you can gather and use the information to make better decisions going forward. So thank you to the three of you for that. Before we move on to our tool of the week, and I've had a little preview, I have we've got some great ones coming up. I want to take just a second now and thank our sponsor for this episode. I want to thank UltraCamp for being our sponsor all season, and for their support of the CampHacker podcast. If you're a CampHacker listener, you can discover the 10 best marketing tools and tips for camps by visiting ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker and downloading UltraCamp's free guide, The Marketing Toolbox. As an aside from the script that I have, I want to say that marketing is not just about kids. It's about staff as well. There are tools from marketing communications that you can and should be using to make sure you get and keep the right people. So there may be some tips inside the 10 best marketing tools that can help you with that as well, since this is a staffing episode. Do you ever feel like you spend too much time in the office, that you've been trapped there and you've got no time left for the things that give you energy in running a summer camp? The folks at UltraCamp know that you did not get into this for the paperwork. So they created the software to help camp professionals like yourself handle camp registration quickly and efficiently. UltraCamp is based with transparent and flexible pricing that you can rest easily and focused on what's important: your campers, your staff, the product that you offer. There's a low minimum entry for getting into UltraCamp. They have clear pricing with no hidden costs. They have flexible payment terms and no long-term contracts. UltraCamp's goal is to provide resources so their clients can spend more time in camp doing what they do best. If this doesn't sound like your registration software, don't you think it should? Visit their website at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. Set up a time to chat. They look forward to meeting you. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to wrap up the show with our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
And since you have a dance to go with your tool, Joe, I would like you to begin, please.
Awesome. My tool this week is a brand new book. It just came out last week. We're recording this in the end of March. It's a book called Imaginable: How to See the Future Coming and Feel Ready for Anything, Even Things That Seem Impossible Today. It's by a lady, Jane McGonigal, who's a game designer and a futurist, and she works at the Institute for the Future in California. I have listened to the book. I have the Kindle so that I can highlight it. This is one of the things when we're talking about long-term thinking, this is the key to it. The fact that we can play games in our imagination that can help us figure out where camp is going and how camp fits into larger society as society changes. These are the things we as an industry need to be investing money in. These are the things. And as I listened to the book for the first time, what I'm thinking is, how much is it for her to run a simulation just for United Church of Canada camps, right? I have money. Great. Is 10 grand enough? Is 20 grand enough? Right? Like this is how important, how we fit into society. It's a great book. And Chris, to your earlier thing, I'm not all the way through it, so I will come back after I recommend it. But so far,
full
amazing.
book report to come.
Yeah.
Be careful. It could take a turn and then you recommended something bad. I'm hoping
no,
it works out.
I don't think so. It's really one of those things where just last month I was in Texas at a meeting of the Outdoor Ministries Council committee, or the Outdoor Ministries Connection Council, which is a bunch of mainline denomination of Christian camps. And we talked about this idea that how do we as camps see what's coming, right? Versus as a council, you're often brought a problem after it's arisen. And there's no way to know how you're reactionary as opposed to you've already thought it through and this is what we should do. And that's where this book comes in. And I'm going to be starting a camp futurist thinking group to go over these very things so that we can know where camping fits as the world changes, as climate change happens, as climate change causes global migration, right, to different things, because camp has a role to play and camp will be different. The question is how and are we, can we think about it? So great book, Imaginable: How to See the Future Coming.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is silent fidget toys, and there's this cool website that it's called like the Teacher Spot, and it's basically has a bunch of different tools that you can use, obviously transferable over to our staff and campers. And the reason why I'm choosing silent fidget toys for those individuals that like fidget toys but might not be ADHD. A clicking noise is very, very distracting. So you might say, oh, I'm going to get a whole bunch of fidget toys for my staff, but some of it might be distracting to other people. So silent fidget toys I find are awesome. And and the other thing with fidget toys is you can get bored with the same fidget toys. So having multiple fidget toys is a wonderful way to go. So I say get a box, buy a bunch of them, and use it during staff training and even during the summer.
This is also a good opportunity to highlight the Camp Code podcast, where Beth Allison has frequently talked about how we had a box of fidget toys just to help people when they need for any training or meetings, that if they knew that that's what helped them concentrate. And I agree with you, Gab, if they're quiet, then quite ineffective.
You were ahead of the time. I didn't even know I needed a fidget toy until Beth put a fidget toy in my hand. I had no idea what it was, but she was like, take this, use it. I was like, this is magical. She's like, yes, magical for all of us in the room.
That's awesome. Chris.
Two things. One, Joe said Institute for the Future before, and I was like, that sounds like the Jetsons. That sounds awesome. I went to the website. It looks awesome. And I need to not focus on it because it wants to eat all my time right now. But it's such cool stuff up here. Anyway, Institute for the Future, IFTF.org. Check it out. But my recommendation is Trello. Trello.com, which is a task management tool that was recommended on this podcast back in the Okie Smoky days years ago. So let's revisit it, shall we? If you are a super listener of this podcast, I know you are, you had heard me recommend Habitica.com as a task management system, and I have been faithfully using that for years, but my needs have evolved, and Trello really works. It's a little daunting at first because there's a lot of tools, but this is what YouTube is for. You can learn how to tie a tie, fix your toilet, and learn how to use Trello. And I invested the time, and I'm using it for both camp and the rest of my life. I'm 2 weeks in, and I have to say, I'm already more productive. And I plan on using the camp one to, connect with the admin team better so we can all track each other's work, which has been something we've been struggling with for the past decade, how to know who's doing what and when they're done. So I would just recommend checking it out and not giving up once you open it and you're like, I don't know what to do. Don't give up. Go to YouTube, step through
watch the videos,
watch all the videos. I know they're very elementary, but just watch them. And so far it's been a good in my life. So check it out.
And it's visual too, right? Like you can put like images and stuff. I find that's what's really helpful. You can organize it color coordinated. And so I find
there's nothing as satisfying as dragging something from to do to done. Nothing.
Right.
I love it. I wish it came with a little sound like ding or you did it or something. I just, that would
it's got to be an add-on. You can have $4 a month to have a satisfaction noise.
I would consider it.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you for revisiting a past tool. My tool is, I'm surprised I haven't done this before, but it's one of those things. It was like, I would really want to buy this, but do I want to spend $30 on it? I mean, depending on Amazon, it might be 40 one day and 29 the next. But I did it, and I'm so happy that I did. It is magnetic USB charging cables. And so they, instead of ending in one plug, a Lightning, a USB-C, a USB-A, a USB micro, it just has a magnet and a multi-directional magnet on it, a circular magnet on it. And then what it sends you are little things inside of they're little nibs that go on the end of that go into every kind of chargeable thing you have. I have dozens of chargeable things, and they all can use the same cord. So I have one cord that can charge USB-C. It can charge USB, micro USB, mini USB, all of those things. It could charge Lightning. We don't really have any Lightning things. So, but it can do all that. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see my cordless headphones have a little thing in the bottom, the charging port where it's a USB-C hole. I plug that in. Instead, I just walk by, drop this down on the table. The magnet automatically attaches the cable to the right spot on my headphones. So that means everything has the same cable. All of the battery powered lights that I use, all of the electronics that I use, Kindles, etc., same cable. You just slide it up, click, it starts to power things up. And it just made life so much easier. There are so many fewer cables because I had to have, USB-C in my bedroom. In the kitchen, when we charge lots of things, I had 3 different kinds of cables to charge things. Beside the TV, we had 3 different kinds of cables. In the office, I had 4 different kinds of cables. And I've gotten able to get rid of those in all those different places. Buy a multi-pack. Ours came with micro USB and USB-C nibs that go on the end that plug into your electronics that stay there, but you can get them with lightning. You can get them with older, weirder things as well. It has been awesome. So my desk is cleaner, etc. So I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you all for your insight and wisdom today. Before I say goodbye to each of you, I want to thank you for all for listening. If you're a subscriber on YouTube and you got some good stuff out of this, give us a thumbs up and please do subscribe. Those of you who are loyal podcast listeners, we're so grateful to have you with us as we're finishing up our 11th season and thinking about our 12th season going forward. We're so grateful to have so many of you been with us from the beginning. I want to take a couple of seconds and just highlight the Camp Owners podcast. I am so impressed with what Howie and Kelly do on that show, the guests that they bring in, how thoughtful they are. Even if you are not a camp owner, it is worth subscribing to the Camp Owners podcast because they think big picture, they get interesting people in, they deal with hard topics, and they do it well. And so I thank Howie and Kelly for their work, for all of us. And I invite you to search for Camp Owners Pod from GoCamp Pro on your podcast app and download it there. So if you have follow-up questions for any of us, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast to find our show notes. If you want to have an individual person you can reach and contact them. If it's about the show, please contact me, Travis at gocamp.pro. Joe, thanks for being on the show.
Not a problem. Bye.
Chris, thanks for everything this week.
Oh, no problem. See you next time.
Thanks so much, Gabs.
Thank you.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.